Ladies and fucking gentlemen, what's fuck going on? I bet you thought I was gone. It's been a little while, huh? I might be tweaking periodically throughout this thing because the place I'm in right now has a shit ton of wasps. I don't fuck with all that. So, if they come in here, I'm gonna be freaking out. So, if I start freaking out, you know why. But, without further fucking ado, how the fuck are you guys doing, man? Like, what the hell? Oh, you're going. I hope you're doing amazing, because at the end of the day, doesn't everybody deserve to feel amazing? Like, come on. You gotta feel amazing. It's not easy, and you're not gonna feel that way 100% of the time. But facilitating the ability to feel great the majority of the time is a skill that I like to work on. Hence why I do this podcast, because the podcast makes me feel great. I don't know what it is. I think everybody should start one. If you got something to talk about your interests, talk about whatever the fuck you want to talk about, man, because podcasting is fun. Like, it gives you this weird feeling when you're done. Like, it's an undescribable feeling, and then when you don't do it, it's almost... the best way I could describe it is like a drug. I mean, it's like exercise. It's like anything else that gives you endorphins and all this shit. It makes you feel amazing. And then you feel awesome after. And if you don't have that awesome, then it's not going to feel as amazing to be here. And that's why I do these. Well, that's not why I do these podcasts, but it does help to. There's a baby wasp. I knew it. It's trying to fly in. But, alright. 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 Let's just not pay attention. Let's just let them do their thing and maybe they'll leave me alone. But anyway, what was I talking about? We were talking about doing a podcast. I think everybody should do it. I think everybody can do it. Like, yeah, you're going to suck. Mine sucks still. I guarantee it. But at the end of the day, you'll get better and better as you keep going and keep doing it, keep talking. And the best way I think is to start by yourself, because that's the hardest thing to do, is to talk by yourself for an extended amount of time, because you gotta have all this shit in your head, like, what do I want to talk about? What kind of subjects in that subject do I want to discuss, and all this other shit. It gets to be difficult, and it's not going to be easy for a long time, probably, because it takes a long time to master something. But we keep doing this shit, and we're gonna fucking take off. We're gonna have a good fucking podcast here, right, boys? And ladies, sorry, I'm not sexist. But I hope you guys are doing well. I'll give a little rundown of why I haven't been recording, I suppose. I've been moving my sister and her husband. I've been working, I guess, normal shit. I actually quit my job now because I was tired of working nights, I don't lie. That shit gets ridiculous. The only reason I was doing it was for some female that I was with. But here's some fucking advice that I learned. I've known, obviously, not intuitively, but I knew this logically in my brain, but intuitively, and I feel it now. Don't do anything for, like, obviously you could do stuff for other people to be nice, right? But when it comes to your values and what you want to do in your future and who you want to be, you follow that shit. Yeah, you're going to have to adjust it. No, it's not always going to go how it's supposed to. But at the end of the day, it's your happiness. And that is the most important thing. Because, yeah, you're going to have to make sacrifices. You're going to have to make sacrifices for your family and your kids and whoever it may be. Even your dog, you got to make sacrifices for. You're letting a fucking animal in your house destroy your house, get dirty, all this shit. You got to become more responsible at taking care of this other being. But, yeah, I've been doing all this shit, trying to get my shit together. Because honestly, that job was good, and I enjoyed it. Didn't mind the hours, to be honest. I know I said that I only did it for this female, But after a while, I think after a while, you can learn to love anything. You can learn to love anything about anything. I think, like, if you don't like something, like cleaning your room, cleaning whatever it may be, doing whatever you don't like to do, at the end of the day, it's gonna make you feel better. That's one thing that could potentially make you do it. But also, it's one less thing you have to worry about. And to be honest, what the fuck is on me? Thought something was on my leg, but to be honest, I forgot what I was talking about. Now I gotta remember. But I'm gonna keep talking like I didn't forget. Yeah, it's just about doing what makes you happy. Don't. You're gonna have to make sacrifices, like I said. Yes, but when it comes to your core, be you. Do what you want to do. Yeah, you're gonna. I don't know why I keep saying you're gonna have to make sacrifices. Everybody knows you're gonna have to make sacrifices, especially with children, animals, whatever it may be. You're gonna have to make those sacrifices. Jobs, whatever it may be. But you shouldn't have to change yourself to fit somebody else's ideology or how they want you to be. Because that's not going to make you happy at the end of the day. That's some advice that I learned these past few weeks of not podcasting. Because at the end of the day, bro, you don't know what the fuck's going to happen. Let's say you sacrifice your values for this woman like I did. Who you want to be, what you want to do. At the end of the day, you don't know if you're going to fucking be together with them forever or not. Like, come on. Like, and in the moment, you don't realize this shit. In the moment, you're just like, I love this person. And that's true. You do love this person. And there's nothing wrong with loving somebody. But you gotta fucking be true to who you are. Because it's gonna make you super fucking depressed, sad. You're not gonna be happy. And to me, happiness is the most important thing on this planet. Because that to me is what defines success. And I don't mean go and do a bunch of drugs because that makes you happy. No. I also don't have anything against substances. But when it comes down to your happiness, whether that be a job, a family, whatever it may be, that is the most important thing. And that doesn't mean your happiness above all either. That's where those sacrifices come in. There's something on my leg for show. But that's where those sacrifices come in. Because sometimes it's about making somebody else happy, even when you're not going to be happy. And that's the most important thing too. Because you're facilitating somebody else's happiness. And at the end of the day, that'll make you feel so good. So much better. To facilitate somebody else's happiness over your own. And none of this is what I was going to talk about. But it is important. Because it discusses why I haven't been here. Why I've taken time off. And also why. I mean, it's life lessons, to be honest, that you don't get taught in school. And it's important as fuck. I don't know who I do this for besides myself. This podcast, to be honest. Because I know not many people listen. I get a decent amount of people, like 20 people's a lot. My most viewed video has 100 and almost 200 views. Imagine 200, not even 200. Imagine 20 people in one room, alright? That's a lot of people that you're giving a lecture to. And you can't think about that consciously because it'll fuck with your head a little bit. I don't lie. That's a lot of people. And then you start to change how you want to act and how you want to be. That's what I'm talking about. You don't change yourself for people because you don't know how long these people are going to be here. Yes, value them, cherish them. Even when they're gone, value what the time you had together and what you guys did together, the time spent. You know what I'm saying? Like friendships, family, all this shit, relationships of any kind are the most important things on this planet because at the end of the day, that and nature itself are the only two things that are real in this fucking reality. Everything else is bullshit. What job you have, what car you drive, all that shit is nothing. It means absolutely nothing. Like, I don't even understand why people value it. Like, oh, I just got this new Tesla. Good for you. I'm glad. But that's not going to make me jealous because, sure, Teslas are cool as fuck, and I'd want one day. But at the end of the day, I know I could strive for a Tesla. Rather than sitting there and being like, oh, poor me that I don't have this Tesla. I wish I had this Tesla. But the thing is, it's not going to make you happy. All the things you buy, what you spend your money on, none of that is going to make you happy. It's about the relationships you build. Friends, family, loved ones, whoever they may be. Co-workers, even if you love your co-workers, you don't have to fuck them, but I think you do have to love them. Specifically because you're going to be spending a lot of time with these people. A lot of time, a lot of money. If you love these people enough, you're going to be with them out after work even. Doesn't necessarily mean you're just going to hang out with them at work. So you got to treat these people with love, respect, as if they're family. Because that's basically your second family right there. But no matter who they are, you're going to get in squams with them, you're going to fight with them, all this shit. But at the end of the day, you got to go back the next day for that paycheck. Do you not? Yes, you do. So you can't be arguing with the same person every day, doing all this shit. I did it when I worked at Bago, to be honest. When I worked at Bago, there was this dude that I got into problems with when I first started. And yes, I will admit, some of the problems were my fault. Because I was cocky, I was arrogant. I thought I was hot shit, basically, when I first started. So this dude, and on top of that, I had a misperception in my head that he was young, just as young as I was, and so I didn't have to listen to him. And it's not because I don't want to listen to him. That's just my mindset at the time that, well, this dude's the same age as me. How does he know more than I do? We went to school at the same time, did all this shit at the same time. So it didn't make sense to me why I should have to listen to this dude. It was just over me being on my phone. Which, yes, when I originally started, I was on my phone too much. I admit that now. I was fucking cocky. Like I said, I was all this shit but when I first started. Because I had this mindset that I knew what the fuck I was doing. But it doesn't matter what the fuck you do. You don't know what the fuck you're doing. Who cares? Like, you think you know what you're doing. But there's so many processes underneath what we do. Subconscious cues, biological cues, like sex, for example. You think you're having sex because you like sex. But there's also, and that's true, who doesn't like sex? Fuck, sex is awesome, right? But at the end of the day, on top of those conscious thoughts of I like sex, you have the subconscious thoughts of how sex used to make you feel. And then you're like, oh, that felt good. Subconsciously, your body and mind know That shit is fucking awesome, and I want to do more of that. And then you have the biological cues, the chemical processes that happen, like smoking a cigarette. You are thinking about it, and then you are using your muscle memory to do it, and then the chemical process that happens in your brain is also there to it's a huge process. That's why quitting things that fuck with your brain is so hard. Food, drugs, alcohol, sex, any of this shit, gambling, all this shit that fucks with your brain chemicals is super hard to get control of because we have these biological old old circuits basically. We still have, I've talked about this before. We still have the same brain we had when we were trekking across the savannah. If we didn't, how the fuck were they making tools like we do? Yeah, our tools have changed over time, technologically and electronically, but it's still the same thing. Uh, a fishing rod today is still the same as a fishing rod back then. Maybe it's got some fucking high advanced shit on it, but it's still a fishing pole. Same with a bow and arrow, same with a knife, same with all this shit. We've perfected it, yes, and we're getting more variations of what it could look like and could be as our technology advances, but it's still the same shit we were making back then. It's still the same brain. We still have the same brain, except now we're taking this basically biological computer, putting it up against a supercomputer on top, putting it up against endless amounts of things that could hit your brain. Phone, drugs, sex, gambling, food, whatever it may be. You have endless amounts nowadays. You could go anywhere and get food. You can get that's why I think gambling and food addiction is one of the hardest, or a couple of the hardest to quit, because one, food you need every day, but now you have to limit how much you eat when you were already addicted to it and you love shoving your mouth full of it. No, that's not gonna happen. That's why people get on medication and all this shit to loosen their appetite and all this shit. Because food is amazing. And it's everywhere. And you need it. It's not like, oh, I can go without food for 6 years. No. You need food. Gambling is not, you don't need to gamble. But the thing about gambling is, any hit, any of your next hits on slot machine, poker, whatever it may be, could be your next win. That's what's crazy about gambling. Any of them can be your next win. You could win big. Maybe it's $1 million. And then what? After you win that much, say you win $1 million, who's to stop you from winning another million? And then you keep going and lose everything. Your house, your job, everything. It's all gone. Oh, it went out. But that's why I think all these processes are hard to get rid of, because those you're fucking with all kinds of shit. But what I really want to talk about today, which fascinates me a lot, is how humans changed this environment, like the earth itself. When we were still monkeys in the forest and just starting to come onto the savannah, there was no houses, no concrete like we have it, no buildings of any kind like this. What we usually carried back then was like teepees and things you could put together really fast because you needed it. You were usually walking all day, trekking across, because there was no Google Maps, there was none of that shit. And so we had to fucking figure it out. And we had to take beds with us and houses with us, and we had to take everything with us because we couldn't just leave it. We didn't know if we were going back there. We didn't settle like we did now, which, now that I'm thinking about it, is pretty crazy. I didn't think about that. We never settled like this, and now we do it all the time. We want one house in one place for the rest of our life. It's probably why young people can't do that. Like, maybe that's just me. I do not want to stay in the town I grew up in my entire life. And I have no idea how people do that. Like, how are you settling, sitting there, getting a house, doing all this shit, and you're gonna stay here the rest of your life? When you're only 20, 30 years old, you got so much life left, and you're gonna settle here already? Come on. But on top of that, I don't want to live in a city because the cities are so depressing. Like, I'm in Rockford right now. Even in Rockford, yeah, it's a nice ass city. There's plenty of fucking open space, river right next to me, all kinds of shit. But at the end of the day, it's still a city. You gotta look at houses, sidewalks, all kinds of shit that was not naturally made. It starts to make you question, at least I think, it starts to make you question who you are. What am I doing here? And if you don't have an answer for those questions, it's going to be a depressing and sad life. Because what are we doing here? What is the purpose of this? We fucking are born. Let's go through the human life right now. We're born. We get a childhood for 18 years, good or bad. Regardless if it's good or bad. Like, my childhood, it wasn't the worst childhood. Like, I wasn't getting beat up and all this shit like a lot of people do. I wasn't getting abused sexually, mentally, and none of that shit. But it wasn't the greatest childhood either. We didn't have all the money in the world. We couldn't. No, that's all I'm going to say, because I don't want to go in on my life. I didn't have the best childhood. But I'm still expected to get a job, to work. And what am I supposed to do? This is my problem with school and this life that we're living in general. I love life. I love living. I love being alive. But sometimes I get depressed. And I start to wonder, why am I even doing this? Because we have 5 things that people tell us we got to do in life. Alright? You graduate high school, go to college, graduate college, get a house, raise a family. Okay, I said that wrong. So, let's do, alright, we're going to go over. You graduate high school. That's your first expectation as a human being. You graduate college. That's your second expectation as a human being. You find a nice job that you want to work at for the rest of your life. You buy a house, buy a car, buy all the things you need to get around, get to your job, get to the store, all this shit. And finally, you raise a family, and you fucking die, basically. You raise your family, work till you fucking retire, which retirement is a whole nother subject I'll get on in a second. But you retire, and that's it. And then what? Nobody has a plan for retirement. Maybe some people do. They go Florida or Bahamas or whatever the fuck you go, fucking retirement. But you're going to wait until you're almost dead, your body doesn't work, all this shit, until you're going to fucking sit and live your life? Like, what? You're going to sit around, go to work your life away, do all this stupid shit. And it's obviously I want a family. Obviously I want a good job. Obviously I want all the shit that I just named. I want to go to college even. I don't have a problem with college. I just don't trust any of these institutions because most of them are set up for money, first of all. Second of all, it's not a plan. Those are just events that happen in your life. What about the other fucking huge percentage of your life that you're not doing all those things? You're just working your life away, doing absolutely nothing. Like, what are you doing? These are your good years. I'm 20 years old. 20 to 30 to 40 are your best years you're going to have. Because after that, you're just enjoying the fruits of your labor. So if you didn't build what you wanted, yes, you have to work an astronomical amount. But also, you have to enjoy yourself. Enjoy your life. Because if you haven't, you're going to make it to 50, you're going to make it to 60, and you're going to sit back and be like, damn, all I did was work. What the fuck was I doing? Every like millionaire and like old people I talk to, all of them, talk to, listen to, read about. Uh, Garbage truck scared me. I don't know why. All they talk about is the fact that they would give up everything for their youth again, because you can't get this back. You're young one time as far as we are concerned with this life. In this life, you get one chance to be young. Unless there's like, I mean, there's the multiverse, obviously, so there's many possibilities, but another possibility is we get to live this life over and over again, which scares some people because maybe they don't want to do this over and over again. But maybe we have to until we get it right, because our soul needs this as an education. I think that our soul, I think we're put on earth. I do believe in some higher power. Whatever that higher power may be, God, Goddess, the invisible spirit, whatever you want to call it, Allah, whatever you want to fucking call it, Abraham, Jesus, whatever you want to call this fucking higher being and higher power, I truly believe that it puts us here for our soul to get an education. And that's why I love to continue to learn and love to continue to improve and do good, because at the end of the day, aren't you trying to be the best person you want to be? Don't you want to be a good person? That takes a lot of shit. Some people are born with it. Some people have that natural gift. I was not one of those people. I used to be a dickhead. I used to think I was the top of the world. I used to think I was fucking amazing. I was all this shit. And then you get smacked with life, and you're like, holy hell. What the fuck do I do now? And then you have to rebuild and figure out where you're going to go next. Do you want to be that same fucker who keeps falling down and not getting back up? Or do you want to be that motherfucker who gets back up? Works through their bullshit. Works through all their shit. You know what I'm saying? There's so much shit in the human mind. Wants, needs, addictions, all this shit that fucking pulls us in each and every direction. Our phone, the TV, all this shit, all of our attention. We have like 100% of attention, right? This is how Joe Rogan puts it. You have 100% of attention when you're looking at your phone, when you're distracted with this, distracted with that, distracted with that. Your attention's being drained. It's being taken from. And you're split in all these different directions. Then you're wondering, why can't I do the shit I want to do? It's because you have your attention. It's not because you're stupid or because you're not strong enough or because any of those reasons you give yourself. Trust me, I used to be one of those people. You give yourself all these excuses, they're going to start to work, right? Once you start saying, oh, I'm stupid, well, that's it. I give up. No, that's not how it is. Maybe you have a lack of information, but guess what? Information's everywhere nowadays. You got your phone, you got books, you got TV, you got documentaries, you got all this fucking shit. Holy hell. You got information everywhere. You think you're stupid, but really you just didn't put the time in to fucking learn and educate yourself because your attention is in all these other places. And it's not because you don't have time. It's not. No, these are all excuses. Because if you really break down your day, Elon Musk, what do I want to say? He's the most efficient man in the entire world, right? Elon Musk, he sections his days out in 5 minutes. 5-minute intervals. 5 minutes I'm going to do this. 5 minutes I'm going to do that. 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 That is how he gets so much done. Because he doesn't waste time. He doesn't He knows exactly how much time he has in a day and exactly what he can do with that time. Even if it's just being on Twitter for 5 minutes. He knows exactly when he's going to do that and how long he's going to be on Twitter for. And he doesn't bullshit himself. He's not like, oh, well, I do got a little bit of leeway so I can get 10 minutes in on my phone. No. He does 5 minutes. Maybe he does 10 minutes a day. I don't know, 30 minutes a day. Because phones are an important part of life now to get shit done, social media, all this shit for business owners. But maybe he sections these 5 minutes throughout the day. 5 minutes in the morning, he is on his phone. Not in the morning, like when he wakes up, but a little bit, like let's say 10 o'clock, he's on his phone 5 minutes. And then he's on his phone again at 2 o'clock for 5 minutes. And then he's on his phone again 6 o'clock for 2 minutes, or 5 minutes. And I obviously don't know this. I just know he sections his time in 5 minute intervals. And this is how he has time management down to a T, to where he can run a space program, do tunnels, and so that we could fucking have a highway and or a hyper speed highway, and he's gonna fucking go to or build a colony on Mars, and he's fucking building Tesla. This is how he's doing all this shit at once. He sections his time out, and he knows exactly how much time he's gonna have. Most of us waste time. I do it myself still to this day. I will not lie. I will sit on my phone for 30 minutes if I'm bored. Like, woo, 30 minutes, I got time. Might as well. But you're wasting it. Unless, that's why, okay, this is what I do. And this may be just an excuse for myself. I have no idea. But if I'm going to be on my phone, and I don't like to be on my phone very often because it just doesn't feel good. And I don't have social media on my phone except for Snapchat. And there's only so much you can look on Snapchat. So it's like, I don't need to be on this fucker anyway. But when I am on it, and I'm trying to kill time, I'm trying to learn something. I'm either watching a YouTube video, I'm watching a podcast, I'm listening to music that teaches me something. Like, oh, I like Webby because Chris Webby talks about how the government's in our pockets and all this other shit. And he illuminates you to the reality of what's going on. I like songs like that because when I'm on my phone, I want to be learning something or be reminded of something I've learned already so that I can think about it while I'm listening or killing time. You know what I'm saying? I'm always trying to use my brain, actively think of things, actively trying to figure it out. And it's not about forcing yourself to think. That's the thing that nobody teaches you. This is why I have a problem with school. It's not because they don't teach you anything. They do teach you shit. I learned how to read, write, ABCs, all this shit in school. Math, all this shit I learned in school. Really? Like, obviously, I didn't learn it anywhere else. But when it comes to using your mind, they don't teach you that because everybody thinks that you're just born with that capability of using your brain in a way that helps you and gets you through life in the most effective way possible, right? But no. This is a machine just like everything else. If you don't know how to use it, it's just going to sit there and go haywire. It's like you don't know how to drive a car, you're probably going to crash and fuck up a bunch until you teach yourself how to drive a car, right? It's the same with your brain. You're going to fuck up, you're going to crash an astronomical amount of times. And I'm still crashing to this day. But you're going to teach yourself how to use this motherfucker. And that's what your goal is for life, I think, is teaching yourself how to use your mind and being the best human being you possibly can. Because I think we're on this earth not only to get an education, but to spread love and joy and happiness. Because this life, yes, if you look at it from a perspective of being depressed, I was depressed. I wasn't depressed for very long due to means, and getting help that I needed, but while I was, and I still get into depressive mindsets, like, that's another reason I haven't been doing podcasts. I was getting into a depressive mindset. I would wake up in the most depressed mood ever, and it made me feel terrible, and I didn't know what to do about it. But the only thing you can do about it is just sit with it. Because, good or bad, emotions are going to lose, or you're going to lose emotion to thought. What I mean by that is, alright, let's say you get a new car. Yeah, you're happy. Woo! Got a new car, right? We're chilling. But then it's going to become, oh, this is just my car now. And that emotion, that joy that you felt when you first got it is going to go away because, not because it's terrible now and it's not a good car. It's still a good car. It's still a fucking relatively new car. But it's going to go away because you can't feel that way forever. And that's the same. Nothing lasts forever. Life, trees, everything fucking dies at some point. Thoughts die at some point. Everything dies at some point. There's nothing that's going to last forever. Except for maybe energy. I'm not sure how energy works in that way. Because matter is energy, and matter can't be created or destroyed, so it has to go somewhere. And that's why I believe in life after death. But scientifically, you could prove it, I think. If people actually try, instead of just saying, "Oh no, it's not true. I have science, and this is the only thing." Nah. I think there's many possibilities, and we should take into account all of them. Because if we don't, like, are we learning to the best of our ability? But let's get back to the topic I was talking about. Using your brain does not get taught to you in school. You get taught history, all this shit. You get a lot of shit put into your head, right? But then, how do you organize it in there? Where do you put it? Like, how do you use it properly? And how do you bring words to the surface effectively? And how do you do. There's so much going into thinking. And on top of that, it's like driving a car, like I said. The car's not going to stop unless you push the brakes. And nobody teaches you where the brakes are. And the problem is with the brain, and it's not necessarily a problem because it's helpful if you use your brain correctly. There are no brakes. Like, nobody shows you where the brakes are. Like, you could slow it down. That's why people choose substances, I think, because those are like slow your thinking processes down. Obviously, they don't know why they're doing it because they don't have the information, but if you slow your brain down a little bit, get it to where you can think clearly, and then use the knowledge that you've been teaching yourself and that you've learned throughout your life to effectively come up with a plan or something to either build a business or do this or do that or do this or do that. It's normal everyday shit. You got to be able to use your brain because at the end of the day, this is the first thing in everything. It comes up like, and it's not just our brains, it's the brains of animals, and it's the brains of plants, and it's the brains of energy. This universe is so complex. Like, it doesn't make any sense how complex it is because we can't rationalize it in our little human minds. We can do a lot of shit with our brains. We can think, we can plan, we can execute. But at the end of the day, fathoming things that are beyond our fathom, or beyond fathomable to our brain, it's not going to work. Like the number a million. I could say a number a million. We all know what we're talking about. That kind of scared me. It's the tornado alarm. But you could picture a million. But you can't, like if I told you a million ducks, you can't picture a million ducks. Like, with the number, you can see how many zeros. There's 9 zeros after a million. Let me think about it. 100,000. Okay, there's 6 zeros after a million. And that's easy to picture in our mind. 6 zeros. All that shit. But what's not easy to picture in our mind is a million of something. A million trees, a million ducks, a million cars, a million whatever it is. That's the same with how the universe works. So our brain simplifies it. It's like, alright, we're going to make this simpler because if this motherfucker's going to be using this shit a lot, then we're going to simplify it and make it better. Because if we don't, it's going to always be this complex. And that's why muscle memory is a thing. That's why memory itself is a thing. Because our brain's always trying to simplify things. And that's how we understand the universe. Is it's simple. And our brain makes it so that it's simple for us and the way we need to live. But we don't understand how animals see the world. We don't understand how plants see the world. We don't understand any of this shit. And that's what I mean by getting taught how to use your brain. Is that using it to understand that you don't understand, basically. And it's everything is going to be a paradox, which a paradox means it's two opposite ideas that come to this same, two opposite ideas that work together. Like, I need to wipe my ass, but I also don't need to wipe my ass. Because in this moment, my ass is fine. I don't need to wipe it. But later on, I'm going to have to wipe my ass. But even then, I don't have to wipe my ass. I could still not wipe my ass, get an infection, and die. Everything's a paradox. There's many possibilities and many things that could happen. I just see who's coming. But all these possibilities, our brain cannot. It's way too complex. And that's what we need to learn, is that we don't know everything. No matter how old you are, there's more to learn. That's what I don't understand about school, because they make it seem like, and I don't know if this is intentional or it just happens, but they make it seem like once you're done with school, you stop learning, and that's it. No, that's not how it works at all. Life is the journey and the education we're here to receive. I don't like the word journey, actually, because Alan Watts says that life is like dancing or singing. You're not there for the end, right? That's what a journey is. You're working towards the end and trying to get to the end of something. You're not trying to get to the end of life. Well, most people are, but that's not what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be living. You're supposed to be here, enjoying as many moments as you can. Yeah, it's not going to 100% perfect. But if you get the knowledge and shift your perspective and you're like, if I see it in this way, it's not as bad. Or sit with it, like I said, because sometimes you can't see a different perspective. When I was depressed, all you could do, sit in your head. Don't try to distract yourself. Don't try to do any of that shit. Listen to what your thoughts are saying. Don't try to fuck with them. Don't try to be like, oh, no. Don't have that. Don't try to push it down. But don't try to also think about it. Just let it sit there. That's meditation, basically. You sit there. You breathe. You feel your lungs inflating and deflating. And while you're doing this, you're just sitting there. You're not actively trying to use your brain. You're just letting it do its thing, doing whatever it does. Because I've talked about this before, but who's to say our thoughts are us? Nobody says our thoughts are us. Just because they're in our heads doesn't mean they're ours. If we controlled 90% of the thoughts we had, we wouldn't have them. Because at the end of the day, we get some fucked up thoughts as humans. We have all this bullshit in our heads. That's why AI is coming online. We're going to turn into something else. Neuralink, CRISPR, all this shit. We're going to be something else because this biological form it's overstayed its welcome, to put it in terms that is understandable. It's overstayed its welcome. This biological form does not work anymore. With how advanced we're becoming, we need something different that is way more intelligent than we are now. Without the biological bullshit, the need to eat, the need to sleep, the need to shit. You know what I'm saying? Because that takes a lot of time. You spend so much time eating, sleeping, and shitting? Oh my God. Think about it. There's so much wasted time that could be done building something else, doing something else, working on microchips, doing this. But we have to do it because we're biological creatures. But if we create something that is not biological, that does not need to sleep, does not need food, does not need pay, does not need all this shit, then we're going to get so much more done. We're going to advance much quicker because we're already advancing so fast as is. If we had 24 hours of every day to do it 24/7, we're working on shit constantly. Everybody. That would be insane. We would get astronomical progress going on. We'd become phase 4 civilization, masters of our universe and black holes and all that shit within, I don't even know, but obviously, because I can't tell the future, but it would be so fast. It would be retarded fast. But I love just thinking about humans and like what people can do, hearing about people's lives, just shit like this. This is why I do it, to be honest, is because I like hearing shit like this. Even if I'm just talking to myself about it. Because it reminds me, oh yeah, I should take my own advice and stop being retarded in this way or this way and this way. Because I know better. And I know I can get my shit together, right? There's no need to act this way. You know what I'm saying? And it's not going to be an overnight thing either. It's going to take so long to overcome adversity. You gotta fucking overcome all the bullshit life gives you. And it's not gonna happen right away. And you're gonna have to figure some shit out, maybe learn some shit, do something differently, whatever it may be. But it's gonna take some time. It's gonna take some effort. It's gonna take some love, man. I'm telling you, love is the master of this universe. Love fuels this shit. Without love, even we wouldn't even exist. Think about it. It takes love, at least some kind of love, whether it be physically, mentally, or spiritually. And I'm not saying good or bad, because it's both. It takes love to make humans, does it not? Regardless of like, whether it be love of this or that, I'm not giving justification to anything like bad. The bad shit's fucked up. Obviously, I'm talking about non-consensual sex. Like, that's fucked up. We don't do that. That shit's fucked up. But this person loves something about this person, whether it be physical or mental. And then there's the good parts, where it's consensual, two people agreeing to a bond and to engage in the act of making love. That's what we fucking call it. Oh my god, I forgot. I don't think about it like this. This is why I like to think about normal things in a different way, because it's called making love. We are making love. Little side note, one time when I was a kid, we got a new dog, and I wanted to hug it and shit, you know. I wanted to love the dog. And I didn't know what to say because I was a kid. So I'm like, Mom, I want to make love to the dog. And she's like, hold up. Do not say that shit. I didn't even know. I didn't know what was wrong as a kid. That's why I love kids, and that's why I try to treat them with respect and try not to get mad, because they don't even know what the fuck's going on half the time. They're just saying, doing. They're impulsive little fucking humans. There's nothing different between an adult and a child besides the prefrontal cortex. And because we're not fully mature until 25, 30. Women 25, men 30. Which goes to show women are way more. Hold up. Hey. Something till the wheels fall off. Give me a second. But I truly believe, this is a side tangent and then I'll get back to where I was, but I truly believe 100% that women are mentally more capable than men, because men are physically more capable. Nature balances shit out. On top of that, I'm not just saying, oh, I feel it because of this, but scientifically, men, we can't reproduce by ourselves. Like, women can go and get, like, knocked up by anybody if they wanted to. And I'm not talking about this in a bad manner. It's just saying words. That's all I'm doing, basically. Saying words. But women can go get knocked up any sperm they want, and they're pregnant, and they can have a kid, raise that kid, do it by themselves. Men cannot do that. Men aren't designed for that. We're designed to hunt, kill, and basically have sex. That's about it. Because back in the day, there was no polygamy. Is that the word? Monogamy. There was no polygamy is when you're fucking a bunch of people. There was no monogamy. You're not just marrying one person. But it developed it's evolved. We evolved, and that evolved too, that trait of men sticking with their women, because it became more beneficial for men to stay with women. And not only that, but a human child was a lot of work, and it required two people. And so the men and the women teamed up after having the child. They're like, all right, we're going to do this shit, raise these kids together, and then we'll figure it out from there. And that's where marriage and all this shit came from. And that's where jealousy came from men too, because back in the day there was no fucking DNA tests, none of that shit. Women know if it's their child. It comes out of them, right? That's their kid. They know damn well. If it didn't come out of them, it's not yours. But men do not know that, because we don't have solid proof that it's our child. And so jealousy form. Oh, I'm going to hide my women. I'm going to get mad and fight this other man. I'm going to do all this fucked up shit to keep my woman away from other men. Because that, if it sounds fucked up, and it is fucked up now, but this is how it worked back then. Because we're animals, and that's how animals work. But men did that, and not only that, but it was a huge resource to have to raise children back in the day. And if men put all their resources, all their time, energy, effort into raising somebody else's child and not passing on their genes, that was a problem. For nature, it's a problem, because you got to pass on your genes. That's why we have sex. That's why we do all this shit. But I truly believe love fuels the universe. And then what I'm going to say again is that I think sex and is love fueled sex is like the most, I don't care if this sounds weird, it's like the most primal and spiritual aspect of being human. If you are in love with somebody and actively trying to have a child and raise that child together with no problems, there's going to be conflict, but at the end of the day, you come back together and you fix the problem. You are taking two halves of the human, male, female, making a whole to recreate. That is spiritual as fuck, my nigga. What the fuck? Come on. That's spiritual. You can't tell me it's not. You're taking two parts. It's like the yin yang symbol. You're taking two parts, putting it together to make one whole. Literally interlocking parts to make a whole being. And then out of that comes life. Is that not spiritual as fuck? Like, come on. But I think I'm just ranting now. We talked for a good amount of time, folks. I'm going to try to do a lot more, because I'm looking for a job. So I'm going to keep applying for jobs, but on top of that, I'll keep doing podcasts, because we can do this shit every day now, and I want to. If I have the time, I'm going to, because I've been missing a lot. It will catch up. So, bye. I hope you enjoy this shit. If you haven't liked, subscribe, do all that bullshit. If you don't want to, don't do it. I'm not going to make you. Like, what am I going to do? Come to the screen? Maybe. I'm just kidding. All right. Bye.